Before we begin, subscribe, like, and share this story, because what you're about to hear will make your blood boil. Question: if your own family thought your daughter was worthless without money, would you forgive them, or expose them? Ethan Hale stood outside the iron gate of the house he grew up in, holding his daughter's small hand so gently it looked like he was afraid the world might bruise her. The mansion wasn't his anymore. Not officially. Not on paper. Not tonight. Tonight, he wore a faded jacket with a broken zipper, shoes with scuffed toes, and a watch so cheap it ticked too loud, like it was nervous to be there. His daughter, Lily, clutched a small backpack and stared at the glowing windows the way children look at places they hope will be safe. Ethan swallowed hard. He hadn't come home for love. He had come home for truth. Because when he was away, when he was busy, when he was traveling, when he was unreachable, his family loved to talk about how much they missed him. But Ethan had learned a lesson the hard way. Some people don't miss you. They miss what you can do for them. He pressed the bell. A moment later, the gate buzzed open like a warning. Inside, the lawn was trimmed so perfectly it looked more like a threat than a welcome. The front door swung open and his older brother, Mason, stepped out with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. Mason's gaze scanned Ethan's clothes first, like his face didn't matter until his fabric did. "Well, look who finally remembered he has a family," Mason said. Then Mason's eyes dropped to Lily. His smile tightened. "And you brought company." Lily squeezed Ethan's hand. Ethan forced his voice to stay calm. "We need a place for a few days." Mason's brow lifted, amused. "A few days? That's cute. You're saying it like you're a guest." From behind Mason, their Aunt Claudia appeared, her pearls shining like tiny judges' gavels. Then their stepmother, Vivian, glided into view, elegant and cold, as if warmth was a disease she avoided. Vivian's eyes flicked over Ethan. "You look different." That was one word for it. Ethan nodded. "I ran into trouble. I'm trying to get back on my feet." Claudia made a sound, half laugh, half cough. "Trouble? You mean you ran out of money?" Mason leaned against the doorframe. "So what is this? A pity visit?" Ethan didn't answer. His daughter's fingers were trembling, and that was enough to keep his temper locked behind his teeth. Vivian stepped forward and tilted her head at Lily like she was inspecting an item at a thrift store. "And this child?" Ethan's grip tightened. "My daughter." A beat of silence. Not shock. Not joy. Not welcome home. Just calculation. Mason whistled softly. "You kept that quiet." Vivian's voice turned sharp. "And you think you can just bring her into this house like it's a shelter?" Ethan's stomach turned. Shelter. Like his daughter was a stray. "We won't be a burden," Ethan said. "I'll work." "I'll." Claudia cut him off. "Work? Doing what? Washing dishes? Carrying boxes? You?" She laughed like the idea offended her. Mason's eyes narrowed. "Let's be clear. We're not running a charity." Lily looked up at Ethan, confused. Her eyes didn't understand money. She only understood tone. Ethan took a breath. "I'm not asking for charity. I'm asking for family." Vivian's lips curved. "Family is a privilege, Ethan. Not a right." That sentence hit like a slap. Still, the door opened wider. Not because they cared. Because they were curious. Curious to watch him crawl. They let him in. The house smelled like expensive candles and old pride. Lily's steps were quiet on the marble floor. Her backpack straps dug into her shoulders like she was already carrying the weight of being unwanted. Vivian pointed toward the hallway without even looking at them. "You can stay in the service room. It's near the laundry." Mason smirked. Perfect for someone trying to work their way up. Ethan's jaw clenched. The service room wasn't a room. It was a message. They walked down a narrow hallway, past framed portraits of people smiling like they'd never had to beg for anything in their lives. The service room door creaked open. A small bed. A thin blanket. No lamp. A tiny window that faced a brick wall. Lily stared at it, then whispered, "Daddy, is this our room?" Ethan's heart fractured quietly. For now. Vivian stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Rules. You eat when we eat. You speak when spoken to. The child stays out of the main rooms. Ethan looked at her. She's a child, not a stain. Vivian's eyes sharpened. And you're a guest, not a judge. Mason's voice drifted from behind her. Oh, and just so you know, if anything goes missing, guess who gets blamed? Ethan didn't respond. Because the trap was already set. That night, at dinner, they gave Ethan and Lily plates that looked like leftovers someone regretted. Mason chatted loudly about investments and vacations, making sure every sentence was a reminder of what Ethan used to be. Claudia didn't even try to hide her disgust. How unfortunate, she said, cutting her steak. To fall so low. Lily reached for a bread roll. Vivian's hand snapped out and stopped her. That's for the table, Vivian said. You can have what you're given. Lily froze. Ethan's chair scraped. Don't touch her. Vivian's smile was thin. Then teach her manners. Ethan looked around the table. No one defended the child. No one softened the cruelty. They watched like it was entertainment. And Ethan realized something terrifying. This wasn't just a test of how they treated him. This was a test of how far they would go when they thought no one powerful was watching. Later, when the house went quiet, Ethan sat on the edge of the small bed while Lily slept, curled up like she was trying to take up less space in the world. His phone buzzed, silent, hidden in his palm. A single message appeared. Cameras are live. Audio is clear. Ethan stared at the screen, eyes burning. Because now the real test began. And if his family chose to become monsters, he would make sure the world saw their teeth. Morning came with the sound of footsteps, sharp, impatient, entitled. Vivian didn't knock. She simply opened the service room door like privacy was something poor people weren't allowed to have. Up, she said. This house doesn't run itself. Ethan sat up instantly. Lily blinked awake, confused. Vivian's eyes locked onto Lily. She can start by folding towels. Neatly. If she can't, she can redo them until she learns. Ethan stood. She's not staff. Vivian gave him a look that could freeze boiling water. Then you should have brought money instead of a child. Mason appeared behind her, sipping coffee, enjoying the show. Relax, Ethan. It's discipline. Builds character. Ethan's hands curled into fists. But he swallowed it because rage was exactly what they wanted. Rage would turn him into the villain in their story. And Ethan needed them comfortable. Comfortable enough to reveal who they really were. Lily tried. She really did. She folded towels with tiny hands that weren't made for precision. Vivian inspected every stack like she was judging a crime scene. This is crooked, Vivian snapped, tossing the towel back. Again. Lily's eyes watered, but she nodded. Again. Ethan moved to help, but Claudia stepped in, blocking him with a sugary smile. Oh no, Claudia said. Let her learn. Otherwise she'll grow up, like you. The humiliation wasn't loud. It was constant. At breakfast, Lily reached for milk. Mason slid it away. Kids earn things, he said. Ethan stared at him. She's hungry. Mason shrugged. So am I. I just have better timing. Ethan's voice dropped to ice. You enjoy this. Mason leaned in, smiling. I enjoy seeing reality. No money, no respect. That's how the world works. Then came the first spark of false hope. A housekeeper named Rosa, an older woman with tired eyes and kind hands, quietly slipped Lily a banana when Vivian wasn't looking. Rosa whispered, "Eat, sweetheart. Hide the peel." Lily's face lit up like someone had handed her sunlight. Ethan felt something twist inside him, gratitude mixed with grief. Rosa shouldn't have to sneak kindness like it was contraband. But kindness always finds a crack to crawl through. That afternoon, Ethan tried to leave the house to look for work. He wanted them to believe he was desperate. He wanted them careless. Vivian stopped him at the door. "Where are you going?" "To get a job." Vivian's laugh was sharp. "With what references? With what clothes?" Ethan held her gaze. "I'll figure it out." Mason stepped forward and dangled a few bills between his fingers like bait. "Tell you what," Mason said. "You can have this, if you clean the garage. It's filthy. And I don't like filth." Ethan stared at the money. Not because he wanted it, because he wanted to see how low Mason would push him for sport. He took the bills. Mason's grin widened, satisfied. "Good boy." Ethan walked into the garage and worked until his hands burned. Grease under his nails. Sweat down his neck. Humiliation in every breath. And when he finished, Mason inspected the floor and said, "You missed a spot." Ethan looked. There was no spot. Mason smirked anyway. "Do it again." That night, Lily fell asleep sitting upright, exhausted from folding and refolding towels that would never be perfect enough. Ethan carried her to bed, whispering, "I'm here. I'm always here." But he wasn't. Not in the way she needed. Because the worst cruelty wasn't happening in front of him. It was happening when he stepped away. On the third day, Vivian hosted guests, friends with bright smiles and darker hearts. She paraded the mansion like a trophy. Lily wandered into the hallway, drawn by the laughter. She stood quietly, watching the adults. A guest noticed her. "Oh. Who's that?" Vivian didn't even hesitate. "Just a child staying temporarily. She belongs to someone who's fallen on hard times." The guest's eyes flicked to Lily like she was a stain on the marble. "How unfortunate," the woman said, voice dripping with pity and superiority. "Does she behave?" Vivian's smile sharpened. "We're trying to train her." Train? Like Lily was an animal. Ethan overheard it from the kitchen doorway, and his vision blurred with anger. He wanted to tear the room apart. Instead, he stayed still. Because if he broke now, the truth would never fully reveal itself. Then the system betrayed them. Ethan finally got a call back from a job he'd applied for under a fake name, basic labor, quick pay. He went to the interview, hoping to bring home something, anything, to protect Lily from more earning and training. But when he arrived, the manager looked uncomfortable. "We filled the position," the man said. Ethan frowned. "You told me to come today." The manager hesitated, then lowered his voice. "I got a call. Someone said you were unreliable. That you might steal." Ethan's blood went cold. Only one place knew where he'd gone. He walked out, hands shaking, not from defeat, but from realization. They weren't just cruel. They were strategic. They were using power to block his escape. When Ethan returned home, Mason was waiting on the steps, smiling like a predator. "How'd the interview go?" Mason asked, sweetly. Ethan stared at him. "You called them." Mason didn't deny it. He just shrugged. "You should have stayed in your lane. Poor people don't get choices." Ethan's voice trembled. "You're ruining her life." Mason's smile widened. "No. I'm teaching her early. The world is harsh. I'm just preparing her." That night, Vivian gave Lily a bucket and a rag. "The bathroom upstairs needs scrubbing," Vivian said. "Guests are coming again tomorrow." Lily's lips parted. "It smells." Vivian leaned down, ice cold. Then breathe less. Ethan stepped forward. Stop it. Vivian's voice turned venomous. Or what, Ethan? You'll leave? With what money? To where? She was right. And she knew it. Lily looked up at Ethan, eyes glassy. Daddy, did I do something bad? Ethan's heart shattered. No, he whispered. You did nothing wrong. But the villains of this house were writing a different story. And they were making sure Lily felt like the villain in her own life. That night, Ethan's phone buzzed again. A second message. We recorded everything. Especially what Mason said about poor people. Ethan stared at the words, throat tight. False hope was gone. The fall was complete. And the next phase, the part they never expected, was coming. The morning Vivian planned her biggest show, Ethan planned his last quiet move. He watched Lily eat the small slice of toast Rosa had managed to sneak her, and something in him went still. Calm when the waystorms are calm right before they destroy everything. Lily looked up. Daddy, are we leaving? Ethan brushed her hair back gently. Soon. She nodded like she didn't completely believe it, because kids learn fast when promises keep getting crushed. Vivian's guests arrived at noon, well-dressed, well-fed, and shamelessly curious. The living room filled with laughter that sounded like money clinking. Vivian played hostess like a queen. Mason strutted around like the crown prince of cruelty. Claudia floated between them, sprinkling fake concern like perfume. And then Vivian did something that made Ethan's vision sharpen. She called Lily into the room. Come here, Vivian said, loudly, for everyone to hear. Lily stepped forward cautiously. Vivian smiled at the guests. She's been staying with us temporarily. We've been trying to teach her structure. A guest laughed. That's generous of you. Vivian tilted Lily's chin up with 2 fingers, too tight, too controlling. Tell them what you learned. Lily's voice was small. I fold towels. And clean. Vivian's smile widened. Louder. Lily flinched. I fold towels, and clean. Mason raised his glass. Look at that. Productive. The guests chuckled. Not all of them, but enough. Enough to prove Ethan's point. Cruelty loves an audience. Ethan stepped forward. Stop, he said. The room quieted. Vivian turned slowly, annoyed. Ethan. Not now. Ethan's voice stayed calm. Actually, now. Mason smirked. What are you going to do? Give us a sad speech? Ethan walked to Lily and placed himself between her and them, like a shield made of bone and love. I came here for one reason, Ethan said, eyes locked on Vivian. To see who you became when you thought I had nothing. Vivian laughed. You do have nothing. Ethan nodded once. That's what you thought. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device, no bigger than a key fob, and pressed a button. A large screen mounted on the living room wall, usually used for parties and sports, flickered. Then the room filled with audio. Mason's voice blasted through the speakers. No money, no respect. That's how the world works. Gasps rippled through the guests. The screen showed footage, clear, undeniable. Vivian blocking Ethan at the door. Vivian snapping at Lily. Vivian saying, we're trying to train her. Mason saying, poor people don't get choices. Vivian whispering, then breathe less. Claudia's laugh, sharp, cruel, echoed in the room like broken glass. The guests stared. Some covered their mouths. Some looked away in shame. Some leaned forward, horrified. Vivian's face drained of color. Turn that off. Ethan didn't. Mason stepped forward, angry now. What is this? You spying on us? Ethan's eyes were steady. A test. The word hit the room like a hammer. Vivian's voice shook with rage. You had no right. Ethan cut her off. I had every right to protect my daughter. He turned to the guests. I'm not asking you to feel sorry, Ethan said. I'm asking you to see the truth. Because this isn't a bad day. This is who they are when they think kindness has no value. Mason snapped, You're still broke. Ethan's lips curved, sad, not smug. I'm not, he said softly. He reached into his jacket and pulled out his real wallet, thick. Expensive. He placed it on the table. Then he looked at Vivian. You've been living in my father's house, Ethan said. Under my father's trust. A trust I control. Vivian's breathing stopped. Ethan held up a folder, documents, notarized, clean. I never lost anything, Ethan said. I stepped away on purpose. I needed to know what would happen to her when power wasn't watching. His gaze moved to Lily. And you failed. The guests murmured. Phones came out. Not to gossip, because the footage was already enough to ruin reputations built on fake charity and polished smiles. Vivian grabbed for the folder. This is insane. You can't. Ethan pulled it back. I can. Mason's voice turned sharp. You're humiliating us. Ethan nodded. You humiliated a child. That silence was heavy. Because no one could argue with it. Then Ethan did the most powerful thing of all. He didn't scream. He didn't throw punches. He didn't beg for apologies. He simply stepped aside and let the world do what the world rarely does. Hold villains accountable. One of Vivian's closest friends, a woman who ran a local charity, stood up, face tight with disgust. You used to lecture us about compassion, she said to Vivian. And this is what you do to a child. Vivian stammered, It's not. The woman interrupted. Don't. Another guest, a business partner of Mason's, stared at the screen, then at Mason. You called poor people filth in private meetings too, didn't you? Mason's mouth opened. No words came. Tables turned. Not with violence. With exposure. Ethan looked at Rosa, who stood in the doorway, eyes wet. Rosa whispered, Thank you. Ethan nodded. You were the only one who acted like family. Then he knelt in front of Lily, voice gentle again. Sweetheart, he said, you never had to earn kindness. Lily's eyes filled. Why were they so mean? Ethan swallowed the ache. Because some people confuse power with worth. He stood, holding her hand, and faced Vivian one last time. I'm not taking revenge, Ethan said. I'm taking responsibility. He turned to the guests. If anyone here has a heart, he said, help me make sure no child ever gets treated like this behind closed doors again. That's when the final silent move landed. Ethan revealed that he'd already filed paperwork, legal protection for Lily, removal of Vivian's access to the trust, and a formal eviction notice. All done quietly. Cleanly. Irreversibly. Vivian's knees nearly buckled. Mason stepped forward, panicked. Ethan, wait. Ethan didn't. Because the last thing villains deserve is endless chances to pretend they're sorry. As Ethan walked out, Lily squeezed his hand. Daddy, are we safe now? Ethan looked down at her and smiled, real, tired, victorious. Yes, he whispered. Now we are. Behind them, the mansion that once felt like a kingdom collapsed into something smaller. A house full of people who finally learned what it feels like to be powerless. And for the first time, the audience didn't just feel anger. They felt justice. They felt kindness. And they felt the truth. The cruelest people are the sweetest until they think you can't fight back.